morning, so there's not much you can do when you have to get up at 8:30.
No, and at 9:30 the show goes live. So
Which is great, and I think we are now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just caught that.
So thank you everybody for being back at the Daytripper Photo Show. This is episode number 189. Yeah. Oh.
That's
Okay,
all right.
hang on a second.
And we lost him.
Shiny
I have
things.
Echo
Shiny
City
things.
going.
Oh, you know what? You still have that YouTube page open.
That's exactly what happened.
There looks like there's a couple second delay on the YouTube, about a second, but that seems better than the latency that we had before.
I know. What's going on?
Well, it takes time, right? It's got to go to a server and come back and get processed.
Okay.
and-
I closed all my other windows.
Okay.
So-
well, the echo sounds good.
This is because it's a whole new thing. So we used to do the Hangouts in the Google Hangouts platform through Google Plus, and now it's done through YouTube Live, and that's how we're doing it now. So I had the YouTube Live monitor window up so I could actually watch the video and see the chat. So I'm gonna have to bring that back up, but make sure that it stays on mute because that was not fun.
So we
wow,
can't see
I need a
the
website.
chat. We can't see the chat in this window.
No, there's no more Q&A within this Hangout.
This feature is to say, okay.
So yeah,
So I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
do
have
the
this.
same thing.
I've got this YouTube chat open now, and Ivan has responded to me already.
Oh, there we go.
So I guess it works.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can see it.
Hi,
And
Ivan.
we can write things. Look at that.
Can
Yeah, I
you
like this
share that
feature.
link with me one more time, please, Michael? Because I'm not getting where I need to be.
Oh, I don't know what I've done.
I got it right over here in the same chat box that you sent it to me in the first place.
Fantastic. Lovely. Okay, cool. So this is working. Everything is good in the world. And it looks like the show can continue, which is
Perfect.
always a good thing. Because I was worried about that. I was worried that we wouldn't be able to get this thing going up again when they transferred over to the YouTube Live thing.
I'm actually liking this better. I can talk
Mhm.
back now.
Good.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. It adds that level of communication. However, I am kind of annoyed it has the Google emoticons. They're a little weird.
yeah.
Like everything's kind of squishy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, hopefully it'll work and people can see us. So good evening, Christine, and good hello to Ivan who are watching in the chat. Thank you so much for continuing on watching us. So today we're talking about naked photography. Yeah, little faux pas. Everybody thinks,
Just
oh, da-da-da-da. Sorry, can't go there. Everybody, when we talk about naked photography, the first thing they think of course, is nude photography, taking pictures of nude people. Well, that's not the case here. Although some of us as photographers do that, that's not what the show's about tonight. Tonight, we're talking about shooting in camera, how to make the most of your tool. Not that, but your actual
It's gonna be a
camera.
long episode.
I know there's tons of weird things might come out of this one, but the idea is a lot of fun. So we issued the photo challenge, and the photo challenge currently is in camera, basically naked photography.
Mhm.
Shoot in JPEG, take 20 photos that you like, or take as many as you want, but make 20 photos that you actually like and share them to the community as an album. I have to speak proper English or else
Okay.
someone will slap me. So all in camera, shooting in JPEG, no editing after the fact, one lens, one camera, and possibly if you want a flash or, switch your camera to black and white. But we're going to talk about all that tonight. That's the whole point of tonight's show, is it's a tips and techniques show on how to get the most out of using just your camera. Michael, you are a composite photographer. You are an artist with your work, and you rely heavily on editing. Is this a challenge that you ever thought of actually doing, just all in camera and nothing else?
It's actually one that I do relatively frequently. I really enjoy street photography as a hobby, so there's a lot of photos that I'll set it to black and white because I love black and white photos, and I'll still shoot in RAW, but I don't really do much with it. I go for the photo, the moment in itself, and I don't worry about the editing. I don't worry about what it looks like in the end.
So you have a disconnect between just enjoying the moment and capturing that, and then there's also your art side where you can go and create images for that.
Yeah, it's my exercise. It's my little meditation when I shoot, is to go and just shoot anything around me.
No, that's what the whole point of this challenge is. So I'm excited to see what you end up coming up with, because I know we've all said that we're going to do this challenge. Phil.
We did? Sure. Yes. Why not? I got, what, a week left, 2 weeks left, something like that?
Yeah. We have until the 28th.
I got some time. I can come up with something, I'm sure.
Excellent. So the idea is you have to plant yourself in a specific area, a 10-foot by 10-foot area. It could vary.
Okay.
The concept is, a confined area that you can control what's around you or whatever, and make these images. Now, I've kind of chosen my shed as the place I want to do mine. But the more I think about it, I don't know, there's tons of stuff back there. I mean, I could just spend 2 days in that room taking pictures of all kinds of different things. I've got my Halloween stuff in there. I mean, there's so much stuff in there, it's almost too easy. So I might end up doing it in the office here again. But oh, new office, by the way. You notice? New paint. Everything was all nice and fresh and clean.
It was yellowy before, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Different. So now we've changed up the colors. This is what I did on my vacation. This is why I wasn't here last week and why we had to cancel the show. It was my 20th anniversary with my lovely Shelly, and I spent the whole time painting. So yeah, it was fun. But
it's okay. Painting's fun.
We did a lot. We got a lot done. We got the living room, we got the hallway, we got the bedroom, we got the Dixie's room. She has her own room. Our cat, of course.
Yeah, she has to.
Of course, right? Do your dogs have their own room?
No, but they just kind of take over the house. So
Yeah,
I guess like we have our own room, and then they have a house. I think.
Fair enough. All right, cool. So to get back to the show, don't forget the review for this show, or for the challenge of naked photography, is on September 28th, as I mentioned earlier. We want you to make a collection of 20 photos, but 2 of them that we're actually going to review. So we'll look at all the photos, of course, but the ones that we're going to spend time on the show on the 28th will be just 2 pictures of yours that you'd like an opinion on, or you'd like our proper critique on. So if you could do that, that would be great. Now, don't forget to tell your friends about this challenge, because this is something that a lot of photographers forget to do. It's great Michael does it. Phil, do you do a lot of that?
Sort of. I'm just going to say that I'm kind of lazy when it comes to editing. I'm going to be honest. So the less I have to do afterwards, the happier I am.
Yeah.
So if it's going to take me a little bit of extra time in field to get what I'm looking for, and I don't have to fiddle with it afterwards, I'm a little happier with that. That being said, I actually haven't set out to take pictures just straight out of camera. So it's kind of curious to know how that's going to come out. I'll try it out and see what happens.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, I know I've done a lot of stuff straight out of camera, and it's mostly on the different kind of side. Like, it's not street photography. It's all the light painting and things like that. With light painting, you can really take your time and create that image and just keep redoing it until you find the one you like. And it's literally in a small little space. So this is a challenge I love, and I'm really excited to see what a lot of the folks in the community have thought up. And I know a few people have already submitted some images for this, so thank you so much for doing that. Ivan texted me earlier, and he's like, oh, I was getting ready to post mine, but I think I'm out of time. I'm like, no, you've got till the 28th, plenty of time. So that was a relief, which is good to hear. Now, talking about straight out of camera, I was shooting TIFF the past couple of days, not the past couple of days, but Friday and Saturday this past weekend. And I had a lot of fun. I did actually a lot of the stuff that I shot from then was straight out of camera as well. Because, I mean, you don't want to spend a lot of time editing all these pictures, and I want to deliver to them in a timely fashion. So I don't want to, say, oh, fix it in post. So I'm setting my white balance all the time, and I'm making sure that everything is going well. I did shoot in RAW, so I flipped it to JPEG just in case, just in case I got a shot of Ewan McGregor, and, everything's great about it except the white balance or something. I wanted to have a little more control. So anyway, what was really cool is I was trying to find some of my photos online, and I found these, and it's pretty funny because I'm going to do a screen share here, and hopefully this will all work just as well as it used to. Cool. So let me know when you see that, guys.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So these are photos that they do in the photo studio. Every day they have a different, all the actors that are in town or that are close, they bring into their photo studio and they do the photos. And now check these shots out. I don't know if they look as good for you as they do for me, but these are really cool shots. These are the photos that I wish I was taking when I was at the festival. You know what I mean? They're very plain, they're very straightforward, but they're very clean and they're interesting,
Mm-hmm.
right? Turns out they're all shot with the iPhone 7.
Oh.
Oh, of course they are.
That was the whole point of what they're doing. They're using the iPhone 7 as kind of a promotional or whatever. And it was really cool because when I saw Ewan McGregor, he was wearing these shoes, and I looked at my photos back. I'm like, God, he's wearing these beat up old shoes. Like, really? Ewan McGregor's wearing these beat up shoes, and here they are as like a center point of the photo, pretty much, and all shot with the iPhone. So, out of camera is turning into a lot of different things now.
Mm-hmm.
Out of camera cell phone stuff. I mean, I've posted photos from my wrestling where I've edited them, and the wrestlers then share them, but put an Instagram layer over it anyway. Like, that just really, why? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It happens.
Yeah,
Some
it does
people
happen.
just need to get their, I don't know, their input on stuff.
I guess so. But I'm going to enjoy this conversation. So we're going to get into some of the cool things that you can do in camera. We're going to talk about, you know, how to use your camera a little differently, some tips that you might not have thought about, and possibly show some photos of things that we've done straight out of camera. If you guys have any, feel free to get them ready. I've got a couple.
I will see what I can do.
All right. Before we get into that, though, I just want to remind everybody who's watching, please join the Daytripper Photo or the Daytripper Photo community, I should say, on Google+. That's where we issue these challenges. That's where you post them. That's where we are able to see them and review them and pull them up on one succinct screen so we can scroll through and see all your shots in our review show. It's also a great place if you just have questions. Anytime you need any help, post them. You've got the three of us in there who are fairly active. We've got 450 other people who are members of the community who are all amazing talents. You name it, there's some it actually really impresses me when I think about some of the photographers we have in the community. Some great work being done. And also, if you're watching the show, you're watching it now on YouTube, please click like. It's right there below the window you're watching it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You guys want to hear a funny stat? I wrote this down. 74% of our viewers are unsubscribed. So I'm kind of like our regular viewers, people that watch it all the time. They haven't subscribed yet, because when you subscribe, you get notifications when there's a show, and you're automatically put on our list. So every time we put something out there, you get a little bit of a bleep, and that helps you see it. So if you're interested, subscribe. Tell some people about it if you want to, even, you know, put it in a card, mail it out to all your friends. Does that still happen? Do people mail things?
I mail a couple things every once in a while.
Michael shaking his head, no. No. Guys, and don't forget, now that we're on YouTube, you can use the YouTube chat and chat to us this whole time. So please feel free, right beside the window you're watching, you can just chat to us and say something to us, and we can answer back in the chat and on the show. That would be awesome. All right, so let's get into this, guys. You ready? Oh, one more thing. Sorry, got to thank our sponsors, of course. You guys are amazing. All the prizes we give away for these photo challenges. By the way, this is the third quarter right now. We just ended the second quarter. We're in the third quarter, and we have one show, I believe, after this before we go. Yeah, third quarter review is October 19th. So after this challenge, there's only one more challenge before you can get your points, before you're done getting points, I should say, for this quarter. And by the way, you win cool things for the quarter. You get a $350 Daytripper Photo gift certificate, good toward any session, including September 24th and 25th, overnight photography. I can't wait. The weather's looking good already. Yes, I know in advance. I put the word in. You guys all know that. So the weather's looking good. It's going to be an overnight session on a private island in North Bay. We're going to see, hopefully, stars and do some star trails and do some light painting. And if we're really lucky, maybe some Aurora Borealis is going to be out. There's been some amazing shots of the Borealis just in the past couple of days that I've seen, even from Algonquin area. So looks like there's a good chance of it. If you're interested, check it out, www.daytripperphoto.com. It's going to be a great session. There is still some space. And Sennheiser helped us out with some gifts. We're going to be giving away a lanyard for these quarterly challenges. Of course, Cotton Carrier, this guy. Did you guys see the picture of me shooting TIFF?
No.
I had 2 Cotton Carrier hip holsters, these things, on my right, and I had 3 Think Tank pouches on my right, and I had like stuff everywhere. I felt totally paparazzi, but I wasn't. I was shooting in one place. So anyway, you get one of those guys, the hip holster, which is awesome. You get the hand strap as well. And of course, there's always lens pen swag that we give away. We're going to be giving away the Lens Pen Pro kit and some individual lens pens and some cloths and so on. So guys, you actually get something if you contribute. It's pretty cool. Did you get that stuff to Christine yet?
I did.
Oh,
Only took like 2 months, but
thank you.
So she actually just commented in the chat. She finally got them this week.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fantastic. Good, good, good. Well, keep on submitting. Everybody, the more you submit, the more points you get. That's how we do it. We're not saying that you're better than this person, but it's about points. It's about submitting and contributing on a regular basis and growing with everybody else. So get on it and get it done. Also, of course, Sigma lenses. We use a lot of Sigma lenses on our day trips, and they wouldn't be the same without them. So thank you, Sigma, and thank you, Gentech, for helping us organize all that. So you guys ready? Am I done bantering now and babbling on?
Yeah.
You guys are sitting
Let's
there
go do
like,
something
"Oh my
interesting."
God," where people actually watch. Okay, so let's go get naked. No? Michael's looking around. What? Phil ducks out of the way. Okay, so the concept, naked photography. It is when, as we've said many times already tonight, one camera and your brain, you know, thinking about what you want to do. We're going to give some good tips. First of all, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to shoot in camera? Why not edit all the time?
Discipline. The better you are at shooting in camera, the less you have to edit. And when your editing comes down to a choice between the things that you have to edit and the things that you feel like editing, you win either way.
That's a good point.
If it's something you feel like editing. If it's like when you're writing, there's a difference in punctuation and there's a difference in taste. If the only things that anyone can point out are taste, but you have no issues with punctuation, good. Write anything you want.
Interesting. Never thought of it that way. All right. So, well, what else? What else can we do in camera than just take pictures? I mean, well, we always take pictures, but what I'm trying to we can play around with the menus for 2 hours, like we end up having to do anyway. But what I'm talking about is in camera is just a matter of going click and composing properly, or are there some other cool things that we can do that people may not have thought about?
Well, back when we looked at film days, there was a lot of things that you could do in the film days with a film camera and stuff that you could add to it to actually affect the shot as you were shooting it, because we didn't have the ability to, you know, drag in a gradient neutral density from the corner of Lightroom or, you know, burn and dodge as easily as we can do it today. Now, burning and dodging still happened in the past, but if you could, you know, work in a way that you didn't have to do it afterwards, it was a lot more common. Like there's that entire company, Koken filters, that existed for a very long time. And then when film slowly died off and software became more and more prevalent, they seem to have all but disappeared again.
Really? I actually just started investing in the Koken system. It's true. A lot of people...
It depends on who's bringing them into the country.
Aha, distribution. That's a whole different thing. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Unfortunately, because I've used a lot of regular filters, the circular variables, neutral densities, and they are not good. Not in my world.
Unless you spend like $400 on them, variable neutral density filters aren't the greatest.
Yeah, I spent $600 on a Helio pen.
That's $600 more than I would want to spend.
Yes, yes, exactly. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. But this is what I'm talking about. We're shooting with choosing for effect in camera, right? You're doing a waterfall, and if you can't, you don't want to do like a Gaussian blur or some kind of blur on the water after the photo, fix it in post. You actually take the time and you slow your shutter down and you put the filter in front and you block light from getting in your camera and you do things that way. So absolutely, that's actually a very good thing that you can do in camera, right? Do a waterfall photography and take your time and make it happen.
Which arguably is the only way you should do it.
You think so?
You know, I think I'm a fan of the traditional techniques. So yes, you could do it afterwards, but
you're an old soul.
Yeah, I like the classic style of things.
There's nothing wrong with that. There have been a few times in the past where I'm shooting and I'm, taking a picture of a monitor, or in the example of the film festival, I was shooting an event in a hall, and behind the people speaking, there was a big, I guess, a big sign that said their name and stuff like that. And of course, I'm shooting from a little off angle. Sometimes I couldn't get to where I wanted to be because there's cameras, YouTube streaming the whole thing the whole time, and I can't get in their way. So I had to watch where I walked, and I caught some shots at an odd angle. I could very well open those in viewpoint, and that would straighten them back out. But then again, that's time, right? And they needed the photos that night. So sometimes you think when you're shooting, I can fix this and do this and take care of this. But the whole point of what our challenge is, at least, is to not have to do that. So you're taking that extra minute to, move your camera to the left. Stuck on a tripod. Have you guys ever run into the situation where you're shooting on a tripod and you just think, oh man, I just come home with all these photos that the perspective just isn't quite right, or it's just quite kind of off, and then you remember, I could have just moved that tripod a step to the left, and that would have changed everything?
Every composite ever.
Oh, what do you mean by that? Clarify.
When you're layering different photos, especially from different locations together, it relies way more on actual perspective than you'd like to think. And if I'm looking up at my landscape and straight at my subject, or a little bit down at my subject, whole photo's toast. Whole photo's toast. You can do minor corrections. You skew the landscape to fit a little bit, but in a lot of cases, what could have been a really, really smooth transition ends up looking like a really badly cut and paste. Everything looks two-dimensional and flat because the skew argues with itself. So,
and then you have to go in and spend an hour in Photoshop changing the skew and straightening it and twisting it and bending it,
and then deciding 5 hours later that it wasn't even worth it.
That's the worst. Phil, you've had that moment.
Well, I just, you always seem to go down a rabbit hole. Like, you get a picture that you're like, I like this, and it's got some potential. So you start working on it, and you start working on it, and you start working on it, and then eventually they're like, I don't like any of this anymore. Just delete and go on.
Like my motorcycle shoot that I was showing you guys earlier, I wanted to use the composite that I pulled out of that. And by the time I finished editing, it was an absolute nightmare. And I can't show anyone now because it's tragic.
It's tragic.
It looks like rejected concept art out of a video game.
Interesting,
so here I am,
weird all at the same time.
Yeah, here I am wanting to teach a class on this. I'm looking at my sample shot going, this...
that's the beauty,
we'll put
is
that back.
You're going to work on that, and you're going to revise it, and you're going to get this great technique together, and that always comes out better, I find. I mean, for me, the process of learning and making those mistakes is where I learn the most. So that's a lot of fun.
Do we want to see my embarrassment?
Yes.
Do you want to share your embarrassment?
I'll explain what makes it good and bad.
All right. While you're pulling that up, Christine says
here.
She notices the more comfortable she becomes with her editing, the lazier she gets in her shooting, and it makes sense. I think we've all done that. Oh man, yeah, I see.
And then you two had a bit of a back and forth about defluffing things, and I'm a big fan of, if we can try and get it clean, let's do that, because I don't like trying to get the same piece of hair off of pictures, or the same piece of fluff, as you're saying, off the same part of the same picture. If I can avoid it, I will.
It's just, it makes you wish you were more attentive, and there's always little bits during the shoot that I don't notice.
Yeah.
And then I see it afterwards 17 times. And it's like, God, come on.
Well, it's like Navi said
should have been solved 4 hours ago.
Navi's portrait session, one of the points that she makes is, a minute beforehand saves you hours afterhand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And it's always, cruise the borders, pay attention to the details in your shot. So what is it about this shot that made it so difficult to work on?
Okay, so what I had in mind that was a little bit overreaching was I wanted to take multiple types of compositing into the same document. so that I could show all these different methods at once. The problem is some of these methods don't really go together. So what we're looking at here is actually HDR, light sculpting, and channel masking.
So the exact opposite of our photo challenge.
Yes.
Yeah. This the short answer is this whole photo is a lie.
The whole photo is a lie. Nice.
So the background here is 3 photos, and this was just an HDR layering the exposures together. Whereas the motorcycle was maybe 15, 20 photos. And that's a single light. And I'm taking the photo on the tripod and just moving the light around. And it was a 2x3 softbox, I believe I was using for this.
Oh, I see. So you took lots of photos with light at different places and then stacked them all into there, so you had light from everywhere.
Yeah, which I have to say makes chrome look awesome. But it's really, really easy. Like, you'll see at the front of the bike to get completely blown out, washed out. There's no detail there. So this was a really quick job just to see what I could get out of it. I could probably do this much cleaner, but I wanted to see what I was working with in the first place and if this was an easy thing to teach with. And I'm gonna put it down and try something else. Well, I already have an idea and 2 more models to work with, so hopefully it goes better next time.
By November 6th, I'm sure you'll have the experience backing your tips as well, which is going to make the session even that much better. Can't wait.
On the bright side, the cutout of the model, as much as the overall photo isn't that exciting, the cutout of the model, and you'll notice with the hair, there's there. Can I zoom in on this? I don't know if it's gonna let me. The cutout's really clean, and you'll notice I'm getting the individual bits of hair. That is one of the elements that I'm going to be teaching, is how to get that clean cutout around the body, and these little soft edges we'll be able to take out realistically.
Ross gave a presentation of that at our last camera club, which was interesting. I tried it while he was doing it, and I got lost. So it'll be interesting I'm going to sit in on that session for sure. For sure. All right. So in-camera stuff, though. I mean, that's awesome, Michael. Thank you for sharing. Good luck. Because this is the thing. Like, editing is hard. A lot of people don't like doing it. So first thing you can do, if you're shooting with a point-and-shoot camera, just slap it into auto. See what it does. If your picture's too bright or too dark, hit information. Find out the settings it used to capture that image. Once you learn the settings that it used, you can use your settings in your mind. All right, so it used 125th of a second shutter speed. It was at f5.6 aperture at 400 ISO. But the picture's too bright. So change those settings in a manual mode on that same camera and reproduce it yourself. You can make it darker, you can make it brighter. Or you can just use exposure compensation to make it brighter, darker in camera. I'm sure, Phil, these are things you teach all the time.
Yep. Exposure compensation is a very powerful tool. And the one thing, there's a lot of things you can fix afterwards through software. The thing that people always think they can fix and that usually never goes very well for them is exposure. If your exposure is too bright and you captured something that is, just white or just black, not much you can do to try and bring that back if there's no detail left. Black, you're a little bit more friendly with. White, if it's white, it's gone. So
blown out.
If an extra, couple seconds in field, an extra 15 seconds to take an extra 2 pictures, 3 pictures at different exposures, that's going to save you a ton of frustration.
You got it. And that's what the tool's there for. So guys,
Absolutely.
it's a tool. Learn how to use it. And that's, this is one of those things we're helping you do. Chris just started watching. He says hello. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Thanks for watching, bud.
I just want to jump back to exposure compensation for a second. I don't think anyone here would think it, but every once in a while I get someone who shoots in manual all the time because that's the only way to shoot.
Well, yes, you have to shoot it manual.
Absolutely. Who always say they don't have exposure compensation. And that always confuses me because you just do it yourself. You just, instead of putting it here, you put it over here.
Yeah. You pay attention to your meter, you change your settings to make it brighter or darker.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I mean, people are like, well, I keep on using my exposure compensation, and It doesn't do anything. I'm like, well, of course, you're in manual mode. Change your shutter speed, do something. Good point. Now, also focus. I mean, exposure is extremely important, but focus. Michael, you just picked up a new lens.
Yeah, okay, we're going to this story now. Just picked up a new lens. I went and visited an old friend of mine who wants to build a modeling portfolio. Did the entire shoot with this new lens of mine, and didn't realize until I got home, because everything looked okay on the back of my camera screen. Didn't realize till I got home when I blew all the photos up. I missed focus in every single shot.
Ah, that's such a heartbreaker. Now, do you have a loop by any chance? A Hoodman loop?
Not a physical one. Not one to use.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give you guys a little tip here. A Hoodman loop. I'm gonna show a photo of this.
Or really any loop.
Well,
not necessarily that company.
I don't. I'm not sponsored by Hoodman. That's not the point. But I've used other loops. I've used no-name brands, and I've used different kinds of loops, and I haven't found one that's as good. So that's kind of why I'm really talking about this particular one. But ultimately, I'm sure there's others. I'm sure they're
not terribly priced either.
No. Now this is a different website. I should have pulled up Henry's website. See now, if I care that much. Anyway, bottom line is this is about $120, $130 Canadian, and it's a magnifying glass that you basically hold up to your screen. It's a 3 times magnifier. So when you look at your screen and it's not really that sharp, you would see it. That would give you that instant knowledge that it's, the other option, of course, is to tether, right? Yeah. But you were out in the middle of a garage or something, right? Where were you for that?
Sorry, for the shoot with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were actually out in Belleville out in the water.
Right.
A little dam.
So yeah, no tethering.
No.
But you wear that little loop around your neck and hold it on your screen, and that would give you that positive affirmation that you've got focus for next time.
And if you're doing any video, you'll notice at the bottom of that loop, there's a little thread. And so you can get, or if you really want to build, but get in some situations is better, a rig that actually will mount that to your camera so that if you are shooting movies, you can use that loop to make sure that your movie's in focus as you're manually focusing your movie. So it's a great tool, but that's another thing altogether.
No, it's the exact same thing. I agree. In fact, this is the kit that I have myself.
With the little flippy do?
Yeah, the flippy
popped up yet. Yeah, there we go. So it just slides on your hot shoe, and you line it up with your back screen. Now that one has an eye cup for it, which is actually a little bit better for that. Using the back screen for the movie side of things. Mm-hmm. Not the greatest if you have glasses. You got to take it off, but I believe these do have a little diopter on them.
Yes, you actually rotate the entire that piece right there with the ridges on it.
So you can make your back screen nice and sharp for your eye, even when you're not wearing your glasses. And that way you definitely know that you're nice and sharp. A nice save on the websites, by the way.
Yeah, I had to pay attention there for a sec. But there's the idea right there.
And they work really, really well.
They really do. I use them all the time for my birds of prey sessions. They're fantastic. So there's a tip for people. If you want to get better focus in camera, see your screen better, because obviously a trained professional, as good as even somebody like Michael, can have issues relying on their screen. Even if you zoom in, right? I mean, I'm sure you zoomed into the face. And
the problem with the screen is you only have a little bit of resolution. So even if you zoom in, you're still only seeing it at a fraction of how sharp it actually is. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things are passable on the back screen.
Now, other things too. I know that in a few situations I've been using autofocus where, you can actually control how wide your focus is seeing. You can control by groups, right? Single point or groups of 9 or whatever. Sometimes if you have it on a group, the back points are actually picking up your focus, not the front points. So choosing to manually focus might give you a little bit better result. The problem with that is if things are moving, there's too many variables. Manual focus becomes really problematic. So definitely learn your focusing system. That's a huge thing.
And also comes back to just learning your gear. If you, not picking on you at all, but if you get a brand new lens and you haven't used it before, even if you were to manually focus and go off of that manual focus confirmation, if the lens is soft or the lens isn't focusing correctly, your manual focus confirmation is also going to be off.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so excuse me, there's that. But there's also other cool effects you can do in camera. There's the multiple exposure. Now, a lot of our cameras have this as a feature. Just talking with Michael earlier, D800 definitely has in-camera multiple exposure. The Canon 5D has it. I don't know if the other models do. I think it's just the 5D.
I would imagine they might have brought it down, maybe the 60.
Maybe the 60. But ultimately, what we're doing... Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say, but all in all, you're really just sticking two pictures together. But
No, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. You're taking one picture and then taking a second picture, and in camera, they're putting them together. It's very much like double exposing a film negative.
Yeah.
Back in the old school Phil over here.
Whether or not you intended to do it.
Right.
If you just forgot to advance or forgot to roll back in the day when you could take many pictures without actually having to move your film. I got a couple cameras back there that'll do that. You know, the old brownies.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What I'm really loving, though, is we've talked about this before. There is a photographer who specializes in multiple exposure.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a screen share here and show you this because this is really cool. So, tutorial shooting double exposures with the Canon 5D Mark III. This is Sarah Byrne who did this. So you get basically a silhouette in the first exposure, and then you fill that silhouette in with flowers or plants or whatever else you want to do.
I didn't know it was going to be that crisp.
Oh, you can do some incredible stuff. And that's why I think it's such an interesting thing to talk about because, and here's some more.
Okay. Now, this is a feature that I'll admit I have ignored largely because smushing two pictures together has not been a huge interest, but seeing some of these results, you know, it could actually be a cool tool to use.
It can. And that's the whole point, though, is to learn your equipment, try something different, try something you haven't tried before, and all of a sudden you come out with something really cool.
Actually, I have a friend that makes paintings that look the same.
Yeah, so this is Sarah Byrne Photography, if anybody's interested in checking that out again. She's out of Idaho, United States of America. I just thought I would clarify. So,
cool in case you mistaked it for Idaho, Ontario.
That's right. There is an Idaho, Ontario. I'm sure there is. I don't know if there is.
It's like the CinemaSins movie where every time like the thing comes up on the screen, they're like, in case you forgot, you mixed it up with Tokyo, like USA or something.
Yeah. I love The Simpsons. Okay, so multiple exposure in camera is a really cool thing, but there's also camera black and white. Now, Michael, you talked about shooting it in black and white when you do street photography.
Sorry, I'm just going to squirrel for a second.
Squirrel.
These reminded me of this. I'm just going to see if I can get this to pull up. Hold on. Why isn't this working? Here we go.
Because the squirrel's in charge.
Squirrels are totally in charge. Hey! I don't know if you guys can see this. I have a spinning beach ball right now.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so this is what I know, and this is what she draws, but it looks like the same. But one's done through a camera, one's done with pencils.
That is awesome. That is really cool.
That's what that reminded me of, all the flowers and stuff. But
it's very much the same thing. So here's an interesting thing. I mean, people have been using this 5D feature for a while, and maybe that inspired your friend.
Could be.
You know, I mean, there's some really cool stuff you can do in camera, and I think that I'm glad you showed us this. That's really neat.
I don't know how to unscreen share. There it is. Okay, it wasn't working for me for a second.
Oh, okay. I think so far, by the way, guys, I think this new platform is working well. Do you?
I think it's working okay.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a few more comments. Camera without editing. Phil, why don't you help out in the comments here?
I'm just trying to get those loaded up here. What do we got? Scroll up.
Hi,
guys.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. Chris, Michael, you're right on top of these comments. You should.
He is. I don't know how you're. I don't know how he's commenting so quickly.
Okay.
You know, 20 pictures might be much, but what we're looking for out of those 20 are two that you're really happy with.
It's also a theme. Yeah. We're looking for your interpretation of the theme, of the interpretation of the challenge. Like you can very well take 20 photos just light painting. I can literally take, I don't know, anything I have lying around here. This lens pen sidekick cleaner thing, and I could light this in different ways and take 12 different pictures of it in, you know, different positions and different angles, and there's so many different things you can do. So the whole theme of the 20 photos is what we're trying to see, you know, your continuity and how you interpreted the challenge. Like Jerry, for example, he took pictures of things on his walls and a lot of different things. So you can tell the theme, and then the 2 photos that we're looking to see as the review are the 2 that either you're really proud of, or 2 that you think, you know, I wanted this, but I got that. How could I have done something different? That's how I interpret the challenge. Does that sound right, guys?
Yeah.
Cool.
I see Christine's asking, should the 20 be in the same setting or time?
No.
No.
You're free to take different times. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because what?
It has to be in the same setting, because
Same
it's a
setting.
10 by
Same
10
setting,
square,
yeah.
right?
But
you can go back
imagine
and-
doing macro. You pick a tabletop and do literally anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was actually...
Oh, Michael, your microphone's cutting out.
Yeah, we're losing you.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Cool.
I was tempted to do this earlier. I should have started earlier. I could have done it where I just set up my camera in one spot and every day take another photo, and that would be my 20 photos.
That
And get a little time lapse going.
Well, if the lighting's different and, you know, something like that,
Yeah.
one little thing is different, that'd even be cooler.
Yeah.
But no, this is the point. You can change. You can, like, if I was doing this in my shed, I could do it at different times of the day, so the shadows are falling in different ways. I'm still up in the air. Don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
If the setting, okay, shouldn't the 20 be in the same setting or time? If the setting is outside, though, no, that's fine. If the setting is outside, that's great. That's even better. You're going to get different looks and different colors and different tones and all kinds of different feeling to your images. If you go out in the same place at different times of the day, even, and like Michael's saying, maybe you set up a landscape shot and you're sitting in one place, and those 20 photos are just, you know, one with mist coming off the water and one with a loon in the water and one, you know, as things go by. It could be anything.
Yeah, I would stay fair to it that you're staying within that 10-foot square.
Yeah.
But that's the whole benefit of it. Give yourself limited resources, give yourself limited space to correct the photos afterwards. And the challenge is all about the discipline. Once you get familiar with that discipline of shooting straight out of camera, getting it right straight out of camera, your flexibility in every direction after that gets so much more versatile and so much more rewarding, because there's no correction to worry about. There's no saving the image or fixing the image. And once you take that out of the equation, there's no rules. You can do anything.
Isn't that the fun part? I think so. Now,
So-
then there's also in-camera effects. We didn't really get into that black and white conversation.
Yeah.
Phil, you keep on fighting this idea. What's going on with you?
I just have a lot against builds in black and white.
Well, I'm not talking about selective color here, buddy.
No, I'm talking about just the straight out black and white.
Okay, now I want to hear what you have to
Go.
say about this, Michael. I do want to hear, but I just got to say, I was doing a photo walk with Gabriel, the Toronto photo walk for Google Photo Walk, actually, a couple years ago. And Gabe says, you know what? I'm going to do everything in camera, and he's going to do some black and white. And I've processed black and white a lot, and I get some decent stuff I like. But I tell you, it was clean. It was crisp. It did a good job. It rendered color and shade, not color. It rendered shadows and contrast really well. You get dynamic range that you wouldn't have gotten. Michael, go ahead.
I also have to say, I really like the in-camera sharpening, which you never get that out of the raw file, and I kind of miss it sometimes looking at the back of the screen going, this just looks right. But I very rarely, I can't even say rarely, I pretty much never shoot JPEG. So the black and white that I get straight out of camera is never what I'm actually working with. But I almost only shoot black and white with my camera, because when I'm shooting, I'm only, in most cases, looking at the exposure values, and I'm looking at the contrast. I'm looking at how the highlights and shadows are interacting with each other. And color can distract you from that. There's an approach that not everyone's going to have this approach, and for a lot of people, their photos just wouldn't read the same, and it wouldn't be right for them. For how I approach my photos, all of the photos that I do are legible as a black and white photo. The contrast is based on the luminance of the photo rather than the colors.
Mm.
And color contrast can get in the way of that. You're going to see really, really harsh contrast, really good separation between a red and a blue in a color photo. And they're both going to flatten out at the same shade of gray in a black and white photo. I cut color out of the equation. I want the black and white to have that contrast, and then I bring color back into it afterwards.
So your raw that you capture is always color, but it also captures the black and white JPEG that you can use as reference on your screen.
Yeah. So I preview everything in black and white, and it never saves that black and white preset because I'm shooting raw.
Mm-hmm.
But by previewing everything in black and white, I get a much better example out of camera looking at the back of the screen to see how the exposure is treating the image, how it's reading the highlights and shadows.
So you almost use it like a histogram in a way.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's really cool. And actually, Christine says she understands what you're saying. She shot her closure submission in black and white the same way.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I like that way of looking at it.
You see, Phil?
More as a tool.
I love this show. Seriously, I think pretty cool things.
So I guess you were against using it as the final copy to go black and white. Do that
same as when someone goes to like Photoshop, just it's convert to grayscale and leaves it at that.
Right.
It usually needs something, and I don't know. The bigger issue I have with it is a lot of times people will shoot something one way and then decide later they might want it to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you shoot in black and white ongoing, now I know this is mainly for the challenge and that kind of thing, but just talking about it in general, if someone shoots something in black and white, it's pretty much stuck that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make it color later, it is possible. It's just not easy.
Yeah. So overall moral, give yourself the most to work with and work your way down from there. Don't give yourself a challenge where you have to work your way up.
Yep. Cool. What about those special effects like miniature toy, starlight, all that kind of twinkle light modes? In the Panasonic cameras, they have that little twinkle mode, and in all these, not my 700, but in the 7100, which I'm not going to use for the photo challenge, you have in-camera effect modes, pop art and whatever, right? What about that kind of stuff? Like, have you guys ever used those?
I can't say I have.
I haven't owned a camera that could do it. But that being said, like seeing the options that are available in some of the cameras, it would be kind of a fun thing to use for the odd picture here or there, especially because some of these things, like trying to do a fake tilt shift shot in Photoshop afterwards, it's got a couple steps to it. And if someone's not comfortable with doing that in Photoshop, doing it in camera, if there's a switch and a button for it, hey, you might as well. Just remember that the picture's stuck that way.
Mm. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you're shooting in RAW, RAW's RAW.
Mm-hmm.
If you shoot RAW and you're adding all these effects and all these kinds of things to your camera, your image, you still have your RAW. It's just saving a JPEG of the toy photo that you've made or the whatever edit photo you've made in camera. So we're talking about if you're purely shooting in JPEG, you can't go back from there. If you shoot in black and white, you can't make it color again. So learn your gear. Again, we're going to go back to that same theme pretty much the entire show. Know your gear. Now, again, knowing your gear, in-camera flash can be pretty powerful. Like the built-in pop-up flash.
Yeah.
You can do quite a bit. You can brighten it. You can lower it. But you can also use it as a trigger in a lot of cameras to fire off camera flash. This is allowed. This is still in-camera photography. It's just like putting a close-up filter on your lens.
Yep.
Right? Or even just same thing as doing free lensing, where you're moving the lens around separate from the body, where you're getting a different amount of light. It looks like a lens baby kind of effect. So these are all things you can do, and don't underestimate the value of it when you're able to use your camera in a different way. Using a flash, taking a picture of a microphone with flash from behind. you're getting ridges, you're getting textures, you're getting all these different things and light catching it in different ways using a lens like I have on here, which is a 24-85 with a macro effect. This thing here, I can actually get almost a 1:2 ratio.
I think it's that. It's pretty close to that, at least.
Pretty close to it. And basically, once I zoom in past a certain point, I can flip a little switch on the side. And this one lens, and the side switch is on the back side here, right there, macro. This lens goes to very, very close focus range. So I can get in here at 85 millimeters, zoomed in far, and be this far away and have focus. So it's a pretty cool thing you can do by using a lens in a different way, adding a light in a different position, or trying any of those things. There's so many great things you can do.
Or even adding a gel or some type of covering to your flash, as you have on there, just to give a different color to the light that you're using, especially if you're getting into being a bit more creative, firing it from behind something.
Now, to be fair, I used this because I was doing color correction using flash shooting TIFF, shooting in the weird color lights. This gave me the same color flash as the lighting in the room, so I didn't have an orange background and a blue foreground, which they don't want to see.
No.
It doesn't look good. But you're right. I mean, I use gels all the time. They're fantastic. I use them for light painting. Now, that's another thing you could do. I'm going to do a screen share here and give you an example of an in-camera edit that was one of those moments that really kind of showed me that I could do something really cool without having to edit everything all the time. Just trying to pull it up here. Here we go. Share. So I'm sure everybody has seen this picture before. So are you smiling because you heard Shelly laughing? Did
Maybe.
Thanks, Shelly. She's watching some show. Anyway, she's so funny. So this is a shot I did. It's about 170-second exposure. And during that time, I used different flashlights and different colored lights and just painted the image on these flowers. And there's no editing. This is straight out of camera and not even saturation, nothing. So you can do some different things as well with just in-camera photography. It doesn't have to be just a picture of, you know, a microphone, right? Michael, have you done much light painting? Like I know you do where you take light from different angles and composite that, but have you actually gone through and done different light painting?
I've done it a couple times, but it's definitely not something I've played with much.
I love it. I do. I just think it's so cool. When I did these challenges in the past, the naked photography, I always used my 50mm lens, just the prime 50. I was being all smarty guy. I could do anything with a 50, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you, I learned a lot about what that lens is capable of. How to use focus to keep the eye where you want it, right? It's super important. So another example I'm going to share. This is, you know, straight out of camera as well. This was at the CNE with Shelly, and we went to a food truck thing. And I paid $14 for a lobster roll, and I was just like, $14 for a lobster roll? You kidding me? Highway robbery. And this is what I got. A bag of chips, a lemon wedge, and a crappy little lobster roll. $14. I was pissed. So I took a picture.
Like a roll. Look at this.
And last week's newspaper?
Yeah, in last week's newspaper. So I'm not going to say which food truck it was because that wouldn't be cool. But ultimately, it soured me away from lobster rolls in the future because I was unimpressed and I paid way too much. And, you know, I don't like spending money. That's just kind of me.
You were at the CNE.
Yeah.
So at least you didn't eat like crickets or something.
No, not that time. No. Did I tell you the cricket story?
No, but I would like to hear it.
Okay, squirrel. Sorry. Shelly and I are at the CNE August 26th. I remember because it was a very big day for us. We had a great day. And we're walking around the food area looking for something different to eat. And, you know, she goes this way and I go that way. And we both heard that there was the bug place there. And we saw it. And we made a promise to ourselves that we would not eat it and we would stay away from it. We're not as adventurous as maybe some other people with our food. So we wander around and finally we meet up, and it happens that we meet up right in front of the bug place. So, all right, fine. We had food. Each of us had food. We sat down, and right away, like within a minute, some guy comes up and goes, "Oh, I got the bugs. Oh, this is going to be great." And he sits right in front of us and he starts like eating it. And we're like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" Trying purposely to stay away from the bugs, and the bugs come to us. See any? Anyway, that was a very bad squirrel. But
did he share at least?
no, actually, his friend showed up with more bugs, and they went to a different table. So,
well, get it one way then.
Yeah, we ended up with a bug-free table. It was good, and the food we ate was delish.
That's good.
Anywho, back to the topic at hand. Any other things that you guys can think of in-camera photography that we haven't talked about? Michael, any thoughts?
As far as actually doing something in camera, no, but on the topic of sort of the benefit of doing naked photography in the first place, I want to throw something out there, a nice exercise for people to start doing as well, which would really benefit with the naked photography and just that habit of getting into doing everything straight out of camera. Mm-hmm. Every time you walk into a new location and you have a camera with you and you're using manual settings, try to guess the exposure and get into that habit. Everywhere you go, walk into a room, the second you make it through a doorway, what are my settings? Take a test shot, see if you're right. And that's going to be one of those things that eventually you'll start getting it right, and you'll keep getting it right. And when you really get to read the light around you, you get to read different aspects of the light. And one of the most important things about getting it in camera is contrast, and what parts of a contrast area you want to be visible or dominant, because you can have where you have something with extreme light and extreme dark in the same scene. You can choose to either overexpose it and show the shadows, or underexpose it and show the highlights, and you're going to get a completely different shot, completely different emotion out of it. Mm-hmm. So once you get into the habit of always being able to guess and having a feel for what your settings are and really being able to read the light where you are, it gives you a chance to take that extra step further and interpret the light how you want to, and decide what kind of story you want to tell with it, and how the scene is going to benefit from being a little bit darker or a little bit brighter. Because and we talk about it with exposure compensation, one thing you'll notice, even if you get the exposure right in camera, the brightness of it, the contrast, very rarely stays the same when you're done with it in post. Mm-hmm. So look at how that effect plays out when you're editing and see if you can do that as well in camera.
I like Christine's comment. She says, very interesting, Michael. She likes that, but you can tell it's a good point because both of us, Phil and I, were both nodding at the same time. That's funny. It's funny because it's true.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I have done that. It's fun. You know, I like to challenge myself. And I know I have some colleagues who don't think that studying your EXIF information is handy. You should be focusing more on composition and, you know, reading light or whatever. But for me, studying exposure, looking at my previous photos and seeing what settings made this and what settings made that, in what environment I was in, trained me to be able to do that somewhat. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm bang on when I guess exposure. I mean, I think everybody would have a little bit of play, even the best of people. But ultimately, I get the gist of it, right? And it's good that you can think about it and just make some decisions based on what you're seeing. For example, the 30-second Kestrel photo that I made that I always talk about. Shelly calls me up to the bedroom where she's looking out the backyard and she sees this Kestrel in the window. She didn't know what it was. It was in a tree. And she calls me from downstairs in the living room. Brian, take a picture. I had 30 seconds. I ran upstairs. I grabbed my camera, put on the lens that I needed. I looked out the window and saw how bright it was. I made some decisions in my head. I went to the window, set up my camera, took the 3 pictures, and 2 of them were right. So that was when I finally realized I get it. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're getting at, Michael, is you start to realize all of a sudden you get it. Mm-hmm. You understand what exposure is doing and how your camera reads light. And again, knowing your tool and how it responds in these situations, it's all key. And that's what we're really hoping for with this challenge, this naked photography challenge. I hope that the point of this show came through. We were trying to give you some tips on how to do more in camera. hopefully you've come up with a few ideas. I know some of you have already posted photos for the challenge, but if not, use some of these things we've talked about. Try something, even if you have done it. Maybe you can take a few other shots and try something different based on what we've talked about. It would be a lot of fun to see a progression with how you thought before and how you think after some of the things you can do. And don't forget, get out there and make more photos. Share them on the Daytripper Photo community. Ask any questions you want after the fact if you want to through the Daytripper Photo community, or you know what, better yet, we'll see you in the classroom. Come on a day trip. Learn how to do this stuff hands-on. October 2nd is the next Birds of Prey session. Phil, you're going to be there.
Yep.
It's going to be a blast. The Birds of Prey sessions are always fun. And a lot of the shots that people make in those sessions are things that you can just leave in camera.
Mm-hmm.
So challenge yourselves, guys. Make lots of photos. I hope this challenge works for you this week. And again, to remind you, the current challenge to our community is our naked photography challenge. 1 camera, 1 lens, 10 foot by 10 foot area to shoot, shooting in JPEG only with no editing, and just, make the most. Look close. I haven't even mentioned that yet. Look close. If I just look at this entire desk and I take a picture of it, it's a cluttered desk full of a bunch of crap. If I look at one thing, and again, I'll use this one thing as an example, there's a lot of things I can do with this one thing in a controlled little environment. So look close, pay attention to the details that are in front of you, and exploit them in an image.
Yeah.
Any tip to leave everybody with there, Phil?
Well, I also want to say, we talked a lot about like in-camera options and in-camera things you can do, but there's also a lot of on-camera options that you can do. So don't be afraid to, fog up the front of your lens as you take a picture, or in a case like this, wrap your lens with a Ziploc bag so that the edges get kind of soft. I don't know how well this works. I saw it on Pinterest a while ago, but I had to dig it up for this. But it could work. Use stuff.
Did you freeze?
Come back to the studio.
Stuff.
On that topic, actually, one thing I have tested, what's really, really fun to do if you like having the background blur, the bokeh in a photo, go get construction paper and cut out little shapes and match it to the size of the inside of your lens, and place that cutout to your lens, and any little bokeh circles, the out of focus circles in your photos will actually pick up the shape of whatever your cutout is, and it'll put that into the shot.
One of our community members, Haley Moore, did exactly that. She and her friend Jennifer spent a whole bunch of time cutting out little aperture blades, basically, and using that to change that bokeh in the background. Great tip. That's a really cool thing you can do, especially if you had a 50 mil prime lens. It's got a big opening to begin with, so you can really work with that quite a bit. What do you have there? Oh yeah, there you go, Phil.
Just the idea. I don't know. I just quickly Googled shaped bokeh, but as you said, construction paper, cut it out. And
a little warning: use black paper.
Yes.
I did it with blue, and it hazed the whole photo blue.
Yeah,
nice
that would
thick
happen.
construction paper.
Go black. When in doubt, with anything in photography, when in doubt, go black. It will always cause you the least trouble.
Awesome. Good tips, guys. Very cool show so far. We're going to end it now, and we're going to end it with Michael giving us our quote of the day, because he's the one who added it, and I love it. Go for it, man.
All right. This is a quote from Henri Cartier-Bresson, and I always change my mind on how to pronounce that every time.
It's a French word, so,
Yeah. It's all their fault.
It's their fault.
His quote is, "The picture is good or not from the moment it was caught in the camera." I think that's totally appropriate for this naked photography challenge.
It truly is. And that moment that you think you want to click the shutter, that's the moment that really makes the photo. You know it's in front of you. You visualized the image you're trying to make. You've changed your settings in your camera to achieve that image. You snap the shot. That's the moment right there. You can't save a crappy photo in editing. So yeah, that's pretty much it for us tonight. I'm just looking over our notes. Oh, this Saturday, the 500px photo walk in Newmarket. I'm leading that photo walk. It should be a lot of fun. It's sponsored with Red Bull. Last year, 500px sent me a little package a couple days before the event. It was like a free camera because it was Fuji sponsored. So it was a free camera and Fuji, these little things.
Like a USB stick?
A little USB stick, yeah. So a little thing comes out, and that's USB. I don't even know how big it is. I've never even loaded it, but I just thought it was kind of cool. So they sent me all this stuff for last year's photo walk. I'm hoping that they send some stuff for this year's photo walk. I'm a little nervous, though. It's sponsored by Red Bull. So
just buckets of Red Bull.
Yeah, I've actually never had Red Bull, so that would freak me out. So anyway, that should be fun. Next weekend, the 24th and 25th, as I mentioned earlier, is the Island Overnight from Daytripper Photo. And on the 28th, when we do our photo review for this challenge, it'll be our 4th year anniversary for the show.
Yay.
Yeah, 4 complete years. That's pretty crazy considering that we still only have 30 or 40 viewers. But we love our viewers, so keep on watching. Nothing really else to talk about other than October 1st, if you're interested, Ross Chevalier, the photo video guy, our buddy, he's doing the Scott Kelby photo walk. So there's another photo walk. These are free things, by the way. I don't know if you guys know what a photo walk is, but it's free. People get together. They have some cool things they talk about. In fact, for my photo walk on Saturday, I'm meeting with a local historian who's going to give me some really cool background into some of the history of Newmarket. And he's actually agreed to come on the walk and tell us these little tips as we're walking through our route. So the history of Newmarket will be revealed this Saturday on the 500px and Red Bull photo walk. Thank you so much. Saturday.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Plans are changing.
I'll make it work.
Oh, Michael had issues in the first place making it work, and now has to rethink things.
There's always something.
Sorry, dude. So yes, it's this Saturday, the 17th of September. The stress on your face is killing me, dude. I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you for the quote. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show, and I can't wait to see your photos that you make for the Naked Photography Challenge. Next week is a fun show. Next week is our banter show, unlike this week, of course, where we're going to get into all the latest and greatest news of the week, talk about some fun photo stuff. I hope you all enjoyed the YouTube Hangout. Now that we're on YouTube, I'm digging it. You guys?
Seems to work pretty well.
Working pretty good. Let's see, are there any more comments before we say goodnight? Nope. Everybody has said their 2 cents. So good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. See y'all next week. Just going to wait for everybody to see your wave. There you go. All right.